Okay, so we installed Configuration Manager. We upgrade Configuration Manager, so we are running now 17.10. And we can see here in the updates and servicing, we have the 17.10 installed, and you can see here there's already a hotfix for the 17.10. So every time there is a new update, you're going to see from here. And soon we're going to see the 18.02 that has, well, is in process to be released. But okay, I have my infrastructure, but now what? What I do with Configuration Manager? So Configuration Manager has, well, it's a brilliant solution, as you can imagine. I'm passionate about that. But as soon as you install, you don't do anything. So how you then start? So first, as soon as we install, we have then, let me open here the MS Paint. Can draw something. Let me extend this. Okay, so we have here our Configuration Manager server. And this Configuration Manager server is a single site, single server. So we have only one server on our infrastructure. But we need more stuff in the Configuration Manager world to make it work for when we are going to start managing clients. So, or SCCM clients, Config Manager clients. So the first thing we need to install on the Configuration Manager environment would be a site role called Management Point. It can be on the same server like we are going to do, or could be another server. It all depends about numbers on your environment. So there are a couple of links here. So one is a plan for your site system, server, and roles. So then we're going to see where is the management point. Management point. So there is the information. And here on the size and scale numbers, if we try to search for management point, so we can see that it's up to 15 management points per primary site. It's supposed to tell each measuring point supports around 25k. So if you have them multiple more than 25k, normally you're going to use you're going to use more than one measuring point, but it's not your case here. So but basically what happened, everything you do on the Configuration Manager, for example application or software, OS deployment, software update, and so on and so forth, it will be deployed to a collection, and this collection will have then the Configuration Manager client or users. Every time then the Configuration Manager client needs to know anything, it will connect to the management point through port 8 or port 443. And then this management point will connect to the backend. So we are talking about here or SQL Server for Configuration Manager. So in your case here is the CM_001 database. And that will return the information that, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. So the first point of contact between the Configuration Manager infrastructure and the clients will be always the management point. Imagine that the MP is the guy that has all the list of what the client needs to do and when. So has all the policies. The second row that's important is the distribution point. So the distribution point is another server, could be the same server or could be another server. So, and this is basically the file share. So the MP looks for the policies, and the DP is basically the SCCM file share. It's based on IIS. So every time configuration manager clients connect to the MP, and then the MP says, so in this specific moment, during the day or whatever it may be, you need to install this software. The configuration manager client will download this data from a distribution point. Could be local, could be through the WAN, whatever the distribution point is. So those are the main two roles that we need to have on our infrastructure. Again, if I come back here to the link and now search for distribution point, so we have here that we can have up to 250 distribution points per site, primary or secondary. Then we can have additional 2000 DPs as a pool DP, and each distribution point support up to 4,000 clients and go. So each distribution point support up to 10,000 packages or application or source files. So as you can see here, if you have 8,000 clients, you will need at least, well, roughly 2 distribution points. So this is the reason that we have multiple servers sometimes, but the main two roles we are going to use are the management point and the distribution point. Distribution point also works on port 8 or 443, 8 being HTTP and 443 is HTTPS. Okay, depends on your site. Those are the default ones. Of course, you can change those to use, let's say, port 8123 and 8443 or 9993 or whatever it may be. But if you do this, then you need to configure configuration manager and the configuration manager client use those ports. Okay, so right now what we are going to do, we are going now to install those roles. So the first thing we are going to do is create the firewall rule. So let's put here the firewall. As you can see, we use two ports, port 8 and 443. So let's create new rule, port 8 and 443. I use the same rule to do this, and SCCM 8443 rule. Inbound. Okay, so we have here our rule. So if you want to know or change this, you go to the administration on the site, right click the site. As you can see here, we have the primary site, the 001 training lab. Go to properties, and here in ports you have here the port 8 and port 443. So you can change those port if you want. Okay, there is also a client notification. We are going to talk about this later on, but it's a 10123. So we are going to cancel here and create a new firewall rule, because configuration manager needs a port is 10123. Oops, this is an outbound port. Okay, so we have here, oops, I want to enable and allow this connection, so not block the connection. So we have them, both of them prepared. To install the prep requirement, so if I go back here, I think it is, which one is this one? It's not this one. Site and site system prep requirement. So we look at this before, server, rows, ADK, and now here on the bottom we start the secondary sites, SMS provider, application catalog, and if we scroll down there is going to be distribution point. So distribution point needs RDC that you already installed and IIS with those configurations. And if we scroll down for management point, we also need bits. So .NET for 2 bits and so on. You can do all this through Server Manager. Of course, you can do through Service Manager. But we can also do via PowerShell. So I'm going to show you now via PowerShell. So it's just showing you here how to install via Server Manager. Then you select here IIS. And then later on here in Features, you configure what options you want to, like Windows Authentication, Application, and so on. Let me just cancel. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install some of those features via PowerShell. So I'm going to open here PowerShell as administrator. And I'm going to type the command line. So instead of typing, actually I already saved here. To install the DP, you need to RDC, the web server, web, ISAP, ext, metabase, and Windows Authentication. It's almost similar to the MP, that's a web server, ISAP, metabase, Windows Authentication. So those four are the same. What is different is the RDC for distribution point and the bits IIS extension for management point. Because I'm going to install them on the same server, I'm going to copy here and paste. So now it's going to install all the requirements for the management point, and then later on I will install for distribution point. So we know that those have been installed by the MP and this one has been installed before, so there is not going to be any changes. So all the requirements are going to be there. But if you have different servers, so one is distribution point, one is management point, so you know now which PowerShell you need to use to install those in each server. So while installing, I'm going to pause the video and I will be right back. So all the requirements has now been installed. If I try to install here the distribution point one, so let's copy and paste, it will not install because there is no change. Okay. Just as a side, I forgot this firewall outbound is actually a inbound rule. So I will delete and create here the SCCM, 10123 SCCM notification inbound. Okay, I was just reviewing the firewall port. So here on the firewall ports, if I search for distribution point, so client distribution point use port 8 and 443, and then there is other information that we're not going to look at, multicast, peaks, and so on. And now let's look for management point. We have here the 10123 is for the client notification, and port 8 and port 443. So those are the only ones that we need right now for the server. So we install the prep requirements. Now we need to install the actually role. So we go to administration, servers, site configuration, servers, and site system roles. So there are two options here. One, you can select existing server here on the list, right click and add site system roles, or you can right click here the servers and site system roles and create site system server, or you can use it here in the ribbon. Then this will create a new server on the environment and then add the required roles. So you can see here I need to type down the server or search. In your case here, let me cancel, I'm going to add a row to existing server. So I'm going to right click, add site system rows. You can notice the name of the server and the site code has already been populated. I'm going to use the computer account, the configuration manager computer account, but I could use another account. So this account needs to be local admin on the box because I'm using the site system account. That computer account needs to be local admin on the other box. So let's click next. I don't have a proxy for this computer to go to the internet, so I will leave it as clean. And I'll click next. And here is the row selection. So I'm going to do right now is install the first one. So if I go back here, the first one would be the measurement point. And let's select here the measurement point. As you can see here, as soon as I select, extra information for that row has just appeared. Let's click next. So first is what channel of communication the client will connect, HTTP or HTTPS. This will then allow which ports are going to be selected. Right now we are only looking at HTTP. I'll leave it the default. There is a checkbox here on the bottom say if the measurement point is not healthy, I'll generate alert or not. I will click. It's a good practice to have that. We are going to look at alerts later on. Click next. And here, which database is going to be used by the measurement point. So in this case here is the site database. If I go back here on the drawing, remember every time the measurement point needs to connect to a database. Okay, depends on the size of the environment. You may prefer to use a replica of the database. Not our case here, out of scope of this videos that I'm doing. So we are going to use the full site database. Let's click next. And here is a summary of what's going to happen. I just click next and then it will restart or will queue the request. So a couple of logs for us to look at. If I open here the C config mgr logs, so then few logs will start to be created here because this measuring point I assume it starts with M. And here we already have the MP setup and MP MSI, so the MSI itself. So let's open the MP setup. It's telling me what is happening. So it's installing the SMS MP, version is okay, IS is okay. Then is using down this command line. And right now, return code 0. If it was something different from 0, then I would open the MP MSI. That's a massive log, is the MSI log, and see what exactly would have happened if there is any problem. Okay, so as you can see here, error code 0. Okay, there is other two logs, is the MP control and MP FDM. So one of those is appearing here right now. So the measuring point is starting, so a lot of things is still happening in background. And MP FDM, okay, so this monitor inbox and stuff like that. So the measuring point has been installed, but has it actually been installed properly? How do I know if it has been installed properly? So monitor. So let's monitor the installation. So let's go here to the monitoring, system status, and component status. So here is every single component, and which one we are looking at is the measuring point. So let's look for MP. We can have lots of MP. The one we are looking at is the MP control manager. So if I right click, show all messages, and click OK. So we are now always, well, 99% we're going to have 1013, 1014, and 1015. This basically means we detected there is a queue for install this component. we are installing this component and the component has been installed successfully. On top of that, we are just looking message ID 500, so the component has started. This 500 is quite often if I try to upgrade and then we want to have the 5460 that basically the MP started responding to HTTP requests. So this is one way to validate if it's working or not. So the next way we're going to look at is using the Internet Explorer. So the server we are installing is the SRV0002. It's the same that we tested with the reporting service before. So the server is responding. But let's see if the messaging point is responding. So we need to go to the SMS_MP /SMS_IUT $MP list. So with this we see all the messaging point. So it's the messaging point list and it's responding. So we have XML. And let's see the MP cert is the certificate being used by the messaging point. So we have here the MP. So the messaging point seems to be responding fine without any problem. If there is any problem, you are going to see, for example, the MP list or MP cert will return error 500, HTTP 500, for example. So then you know there is a problem. So we have the messaging point. If I go back to my drawing here, we installed messaging point. So now any configuration manager client can connect to the configuration manager environment and see what it needs to do. It can send inventory. It can actually request for, try to install software because it has the policy to install software. But it will not install any software because we don't have the distribution point. We don't have the file share. Right now, we are going to install the file share. Where do we install? We go here, administration, site configuration, servers. Then we can add a new row to existing server or create a new server. In our case, we're going to add a new row. Let's click next, next on the proxy, and on the IIS, on the system row, we are going to select distribution point. You can see here, added lots of stuff. So let's click next. So the first one is the basic distribution point. Here we have what level we are going to use, HTTP or HTTPS. I will leave HTTP. The certificate, so everything is a create certificate. So because it's an HTTP environment, we are going to use self-signed certificate. You can see here is almost 100 years the certificate. If it was HTTPS mode, you had to import a certificate. And one of the things I'm going to do is install and configure IIS if required. So if configuration manager, for example, installed wrongly IIS, forgot to install or haven't installed, configuration manager will install this for me. So I'm just click next. Drive settings, I always leave the default. So basically configuration manager will use any drive it can find. So in your case here, I only have a C drive. If I had more than one drive, then you can say configuration manager, let me just use those specific drivers for content library or package share location. However, instead of using this option, what I like to do, let me open here, is using the no SMS on drive. No SMS on drive. So this actually tells configuration manager not to use that drive for anything, for the content library. So, and there is this other Microsoft documentation, is how to prevent configuration manager from installing files on a specific drive. you can have here now create a empty file named no SMS on drive and place on the root folder. So if I have like C, D, E, whatever, and I don't want to use C or D, I would then create this file on the C or on the D or whatever I want. So this normally I leave empty, the default settings. So click next. Pixie, we are not going to look at Pixie yet, at least not on this series of videos. So let's click next. Same for Multicast. Content validation. So you send the data to configuration manager, distribution point, and then if this content has been changed, configuration manager can validate for any reason, virus, antivirus, or whatever. Configuration manager can then validate if this content is still valid in a schedule. So for example, I could say every Saturday, check if the content on the server, on the distribution point, is exactly the same as it's supposed to be. So it's going to compare the hash against the configuration manager server, and if it's not, it's going to copy the correct data, so the files. And what's the priority? So lowest, low, medium, high, highest. So I will leave the default that's lowest. So once a week, the distribution point is going to validate against the server. In my case here, I will remove, because it is the same server. I normally enable this on a remote servers. Next. And boundary group, we will not talk about boundary group yet. So let's leave empty and let's click next and next as well. So now the request to install this distribution point has been created. Okay, so what we need to do now is monitor if this distribution point is actually working. So there are two ways. One, logs. So let's go to configuration manager, logs, and there is a dist mgr log. So this is the main log for distribution point. So we can see here some informations failed. That is okay during the installation. Okay, lots of things happening. So we can see here this fail to process package. It will retry, and we'll talk about this later on. So now it's performing the tasks that need to be performed. Okay, while it's doing, now let's go here to the configuration manager, monitoring, and then we have a list here of our monitoring stuff and our components. So let's search for list. So we are looking for distribution manager. I right click, show all messages, but instead 1 day ago, let's put just 1 hour ago, because we have just deployed, so I don't want to see the old messages. So we have here what happened since 1 hour ago. So there are 3 problems, and if you will look at the problem, it's a message ID 2302, configuration or distribution point failed to process package ID. Then we have other 2. During the installation, it's normal, this failure. Okay, you don't need to worry about. The reason being is because there is a queue of stuff going on, and some of the installation of the distribution point did not finish yet. It's in configuration manager is trying to copy the packages. So during the installation, this is it's okay. So we look at the 2399. So because we select the option, this tells is successfully installed or upgraded the distribution point on the computer. So this is the main message. We look at 2362. This is if you have selected to install IS. So we can see here, Distribution Manager successfully install IIS. 9501 here, that Pixie is disabled as expected because we don't want Pixie to be enabled right now. 9503 is the multicast is not enabled. Okay. And if we leave for long, Configuration Manager tries every half an hour to update those. We are going to see those start to be deployed. Right now, what I'm going to do here, let's go to monitoring again. And we see here down distribution status, content status. Now we see exactly 3 packages fail to be distributed. So we have one target. And if we click view stats or the link here on the bottom, we can see exactly, and now we got error. We can see here exactly what failed and which distribution point. So let's just leave this for half an hour and it will pick up, and this will be all green later on. However, if you want to force things to happen, for example, you are not the default one, so you can right click and redistribute the content, so it will now try to send the content again. In our case here, we will wait. Let me just close this dynamic mode node. We will wait because Configuration Manager is doing a lot of stuff. Now let's leave the queue to clean up, Configuration Manager to do the work. In a real environment, when you install a new distribution point, those 3 packages will fail at the beginning normally, and after Configuration Manager will deploy properly. If you are deploying all packages and many other packages, then some packages fail because of the network, and then Configuration Manager will also pick up. It depends on the size of the packages as well. So I will pause the video right now, and as soon as those packages have been deployed successfully, I will come back to you. I have just refresh, so we can see here all the packages has been now copied properly. So if I right click, view stats or click, you can see there is no more errors, and now is a success distribution. So it was successfully. To speed up, I saw Configuration Manager was doing nothing, so I right click and redistributed the content. I open all 3. So let me open the other 2 here, and you can see here it starts doing the dynamic. Oh, not that one. Doesn't actually matter which one I open. Then this one here. It open all 3 here. So if I want to close one, I just select the one I want to close, close node, or I can close all nodes or close every single other node except this one. So, and then it will close all the dynamics. So this is the easiest way to start make Configuration Manager work, let's say, a bit faster instead of actually waiting. In a normal environment, for example, you're going to do this with scripts. There are a lot of scripts out there that can help you out with your day-to-day administration, PowerShell, stuff like that. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and you'll see you